Hey guys, so I'm back. Thank you again. We're here reading chapter 35. Can you dream? This chapter is called The Profound End. So, like I said, I kind of do a few chapters and kind of put them together. And the last few chapters has been about them just being punished. And before that section, it was about them dealing with those parents that had killed their children. So this is that section. So it's coming about to wrap up this section. So it is a lot longer. I'll show you. The light is bumping. I'm loving it. So yeah, let's shoot. Chapter 35, The Profound End. Take off your clothes. I looked in his eyes, shocked and begging for an answer. River, it's freezing. Let's try to move from the sun a little bit. A little bit of a blowout. River, it's freezing. I felt like I was begging him to rephrase his demand. You won't feel it, trust me. His shirt was already off. I trusted him. In minutes, we were both naked, after maneuvering our bodies in a small space, using each corner as a peak to stretch our legs and arms. I held his hand again, and he didn't move. Okay, we have to get out. He let go of my hand, and we got out. He held his jacket in hand and locked one of his fingers with mine. We walked in the untainted snow, and I admired the feel of the snow melting beneath my soles. He was right. I was okay. We walked our way towards a cave, alive with all sorts of things we don't wish to see. We entered it, and the heat that lived in it was amazing. The walls were layered in sweat. The cave almost took breaths, as if it was the mouth of a large monster in rest. We stood there in the dark with slight illumination from the oncoming moon and the reflection of the whitest snow. He moved my hair behind my ears and traced my skin with his roughly soft hands. From my ears to my neck to my breast, then over my nipple, then down my stomach, then he stopped at my belly button. My breathing slowed, but every inch of me begged for him, each touch precise and on point. I can't. I kissed him and I moved his hand lower. It's okay. He kissed me back and I felt bumps over his body like sand grew out of his skin. It's okay. I threw the jacket on the floor and laid down. I closed my eyes as his body caressed my skin. I indulged in every touch as he explored my body like a map or a new species. He kissed my neck and I felt my nipples graze his bare chest, his hands touching me in very responsive areas. Then he kissed me, and I felt his want for me. I could breathe. Then he filled me like no other, catching me by surprise. I don't know where it starts. I wrapped my legs around his back, begging for everything to be endless. I could feel him beneath me, above me, watching me, wanting me, in me. He looked into my eyes with heavy breathing and that smirk. I love you. I love you too, I smiled, and said it with no hesitation. Then immediately everything was endless like the ocean. He went deeper and deeper, and I felt every nerve stand on edge, responsive and pleasure. I held on tighter to him, scratching his back, begging him. And I could feel the whole world responding. I was hot, then I was cold again. I love him. So I'm going to go on to chapter 36, then I'll give my notes again after. So chapter 36, play the game. She emerged out of the depths of the cave like a ghost. Moments after our heavy breathing slowed, we laid there collecting ourselves on a jacket that we just realized was too small for the both of us. She stood in front of us and tilted her head in curiosity. Then she leaned against a wall that dripped from perspiration. With tears falling from her eyes like sap from a tree, she stood there caressing a sick bat, as its wings made spasms and flickered in her knowing arms. I'm glad you two played the game well. It would have been heart-throbbing to lose you two. She looked at us in admiration and smiled, with the same mystery in her eyes. Play. So, I whispered, this was all a game? River finished as he held me close. So it was like, so I whispered, and River said, this was all a game to end it. It was to test if you two could be there for each other through rejection and distance, but to remind you of where you came from. I looked back at him, and he played with my stomach, and we smiled. I touched his face and got lost in his eyes, almost forgetting Lydia was there. He looked up, and I turned around, and she was gone. We heard a flutter and saw the bat fly across the face of the moon. So I have a line over this. This is kind of the first time anything like that is there, but it's just because another scene occurs. So I'll just read it. We went back to our lives, but I couldn't seem to shake an uncomfortable feeling. I woke up with a twisted view on the world. I honestly just wish it would end, but I know I don't mean this literally. I got up out of my bed and slowly so I wouldn't wake up River. Where are you going? I don't know. I'll be back. I was only wearing underwear. I walked into another room. I sat beside the couch on the floor, distracting its purpose. I turned on the TV and watched it with fake enthusiasm, laughing at bad jokes and blatant simplicity. I laughed, and I needed that. I got up and I walked back to bed. River wasn't facing me, and I held him and played with his hair. Somehow I went to sleep with a smile on my face. I hated this world, but at least I hated it with him. So this sun is making me golden. So that's that for those chapters, or for this section, like I said. So again, there was me talking about sex. Like I said, it's somewhat difficult, it's somewhat awkward, it's somewhat hard to explain. Like I said, I have a lot more easiness writing about death. It just seems a lot more natural to write than with sex, but it is fun to kind of play with the concepts and play around with what's going on. So again, them kind of connecting. You kind of saw where Aelin was kind of hands off with him initially, and then when they switched over, River was pretty hands off. But when they went to go have sex, they kind of came back together and kind of balanced each other out. and Lydia comes back and she's like, guys, like, remember where you came from, like, you know. And then with this ending scene, I do have a scene earlier in the beginning, I think, Cadence of Screams, where she sits in front of a TV, and I think I can just go to it quickly because it's like really early on, but kind of just how they use the TV and how they use it to kind of view the world and also get their heads on track too, and get their peace of mind. It's like they get up late at night and she goes to, I don't even know where this room is. There's no TV in her apartment. Like, it doesn't make any sense. Like, if I made this a movie, she's literally just is like, she's just gonna appear somewhere that's dark and there's a TV and a couch. And most of the time she doesn't even sit on the couch. It reminds me of a play that I did for Othello with this girl in high school, where we started off with like a TV image, and then we had practiced the beginning of this play so well, and it was perfect at the beginning, and we just fell apart at the end. But it always kind of reminds me of that scene. That's where that's coming from. And again, like I said, a little uncomfortable to read about sex, but whatever, like, it's a thing. So again, them getting in trouble, kind of the mom, or, you know, Lydia going and saying, like, you know, I'm glad that you guys figured out that what you did was wrong. Like, I'm glad you guys are still together, blah, blah, blah. Also, the bat scene, not that I'm completely certain as to when I wrote this, but there was a time where I went to chill with an ex of mine in Cambridge or something, and there was like this point where we're looking up in the sky and there were bats flying by or something. So yeah, that's kind of where the bat came from. But I like that she disappears and a bat goes through, so it's like she brought the bat back to life, and then she kind of went back to her world, and she just come out of it like a child in like a white dress or something, and comes out of the cave and kind of just talks to them, then disappears. So that's kind of the image again for me. So that's it for this section. I will probably go on to read chapter 27 and yeah, see how it goes. Again, thank you so much for getting this far with me. I won't get on the whole YouTube like list. If you guys want to like, favorite, subscribe, talk to me, whatever. I mainly just I'm just letting you guys know the process and letting you guys kind of see how things start, you know, like and where I'm coming from, because this is a pretty cryptic book. So yeah, so that's kind of why I'm making it. So let's go to the next video. Thanks, guys.